Good day, Templeton residents. Many of you may know me. I'm Adam Lamontagne, the town administrator for the town of Templeton. Many of you are aware of the State of the Union done by the President of the United States, or the State of the Commonwealth done by the governor. Well, here in town, we have a select board town meeting form of government. And I'm going to introduce the chair of the select board, Michael Currie, and he's going to go over a lot of our accomplishments, our challenges, and overall what we've done in fiscal year 22. So with that, Mike, if you want to take this and
Sure.
kind of roll with what we've done and how we're planning on making the town a better place each and every single day.
Great. Thanks, Adam. And just want to take the opportunity to say thank you for everything that you and your team does on a daily basis. You've got a pretty large staff. You've got a lot of departments. This is your second year as the full TA. I know you've been in this town for many years, and then you've recently moved and called this town your own. So we very much appreciate you being not only a leader within our community, but now a resident and part of our community. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Good evening, folks. I'm Mike Currie. As Adam had alluded to, I'm the chair of the select board. I serve with 4 other fine individuals. I'll kind of go through them in order of how long they've been on the board. We've got Jeff Bennett, Terry Griffiths, the vice is Tim Toth, and Julie Richard is on as well, and she is now in her 3rd term. So looking at about 9, trying to cover 9 years of service to the community.
Great group.
Absolutely. And as we said, we've got Adam and we've got many other town employees that we rely on a daily basis. I think I wind up closing out our achievements with just a thank you to our public safety team, because they're so crucial to our success. But Adam, like Adam said, we take this opportunity in the beginning of the year, the calendar year, as our fiscal year goes from June to July, July to June of every year. But so we get kind of confused with which year are we in, which budget year are we starting. But calendar year, we just finished up 21, and we're starting out with 22. We're still in the pandemic, and it still weighs heavy on our mind.
Well, you remember navigating through that. I mean, you were the public information officer, and that was certainly a challenge. I mean, coming in and navigating the town through that, but we certainly had a terrific team on there with Rich Curtis, the emergency management director, Kelly, the Pomprion, the town accountant, and we certainly worked hard through not only making sure those financial resources were provided, but making sure we had an adequate plan to navigate the town through this. Mm-hmm. And I do appreciate your leadership there, and I know you have a lot of expertise in that field, mm-hmm. particularly with your background with the service and such.
Well, yeah, it's a good point to recall. And you meant the 2 names that you mentioned, Kelly and Rich, become kind of like the tip of the spear, as they say, for the follow-on or the recovery effort. The different phases of any kind of calamity or otherwise. The last phase is recovery, and that's really where Kelly and Rich basically are setting us up for the next time. And then our other star player, Lori Witta.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, continually
Absolutely.
Providing the updates to the board. I had said in our meeting last night, we're coming back down from Omicron. We're back down to the neighborhood of about 150, 170 cases. But again, this is we're going in past 2 years of a pandemic, and certainly the team that we had assembled. I agree with you.
Well, you remember that first, when we first got word, and then before we declared the state of emergency.
Mm-hmm. And we rescinded it this past year, yep.
We rescinded it this past year, but that was a trying time back in March of 2020.
Yep.
You remember sitting there, and we were writing that order, and
yep.
It was...
the board was very concerned at that point. We didn't know which direction it was going to take. We certainly did not think it was going to last this long. But as you hear in the media and a lot of our other public figures, this is something that there is no new normal. I know that word kind of got used, praised, and then put in the circular file. But we are trying to forge a way forward to really identify public safety, but also try and preserve people's rights, as that has become an issue as well with mask mandates and otherwise. So we really try and find a nice balance there. So in the wake of what we've done last year, like Adam said, what we'd like to do this afternoon is to go through the accomplishments and as they pertain to our future success. Probably a few weeks ago, we had our congressional delegation come in on a Zoom meeting. Senator Ann Goby, Representative Susanna Whips, and our new, or coming because of the redistricting, Representative John Zlotnick, all came on, and time is precious, and we don't want to waste their time, and we want a fair amount of communication. And I don't know if you recall me saying, I said, I got a list of like 20, 30 things I'd love to go over. I didn't get to go over that list, but I did give them kind of like the David Letterman top 10 aspect, and definitely some of the challenges that we face, because our congressional delegation is so important to our success. Only recently, I forget, it was 250. I think it was about $250,000 check that they got for our fire apparatus that they just reported to us. So that continual flow of resources that they funnel in, or not funnel, but basically secure for us, and they bring in that big check, and we pose in front of our town seal, and we talk about our success.
Well, it was a $70,000 for the utility truck.
Yes.
That the senator brought the check, and remember the senator brought it upside down.
Yeah, I do.
So the chief's like, I could cash that check whether it's upside down or upside up.
Right. I think I was remembering I think it was a little over
right
two,
over there.
Yep,
when she brought in the funds
for the police station, for the Sallyport. Yep. So what I'd like to do this evening, and we don't want to take forever and do victory laps or otherwise, because we do realize that there's a lot more that we can do. But I would really like to make sure that the community, if you're watching, whenever, if you clicked on subscribe for TCTV's YouTube channel, you'll get the notification when this gets published, and you can watch it whenever you can. Listen to me on your way into work or otherwise, but really listen to the things that are occurring in your community. As I go through this list, Adam, if you have anything that you wanted to add to that, please feel free. So it has been a very good year for town of Templeton in the way of grants. We've had multiple grants, cyber, IT, clean air. Part of the success of towns, especially out this central Mass and western Mass, anything beyond the 495 where resources are hard to come by, those grants come, and we have a team that basically will seek them out, team together, write the grant, submit it, the select board approves it, and we wind up getting better resources for our community. So it's been a very good year for grants.
Absolutely, and that also, in addition to all the grants you've already mentioned too, with the wage and compensation study.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've got that on my list.
And then also the cemetery software grant that we were awarded, and with Select Board Member Toth and I drove out to Pittsfield for the Lieutenant Governor's announcement. So you're absolutely right. Whenever we see a grant, we do our best to get it, and I know you were one of the advocates on that cybersecurity one.
Yep. Which was and continues to be when we have our Roselli audits, annual audits, that cybersecurity. We've had some cyber events in town, and we've been fortunate not to have any kind of ransomware or otherwise, but cyber weakness is a problem throughout the entire world, really. But from a municipal level, to be able to, I actually took my first cyber assessment today. We get automated emails as a part of this, so we're already working through a lot of those things.
That's because you just dealt with that other one, what was it, about 6 months ago, 8 months ago?
Yep.
When they tried attack going through your email.
Yep, those phishers are out there, and they're really looking to try and weasel away into the network and create chaos.
But they messed with the wrong person, because you notified IT, and we took care of that very fast.
So speaking of the wage and classification study, we just got the 75% brief. I think I was remote for that meeting, but we have got a wage and classification study designed to make sure that here in Templeton that we have not only identified what these positions are, but are we paying them correctly? How are they on par with other communities? We really need to make sure that going forward that we are doing everything that we can for our employees and our human capital that we have, to make sure that that we're executing people, whether it's a contract, whether we're taking a look at the different positions to make sure that we're adequately seeking the right talent and job descriptions. So that has been, I know that's been ongoing, and we'll be receiving the final report sometime in calendar year 22. If you've been out on our roads, you know that some of those roads are in tough shape, but we had numerous Chapter 90 projects. I have to stress both large and small. I think we were in the neighborhood of about $300,000 or $400,000, and Bob Sozik and the DPW, they take our street study, and they really try and make those dollars work for the community. Some, Hubbardston Road, Orchard Lane, I know that was
CDBG.
Yep,
Hospital.
block grant. Yep.
Hospital Drive.
Hospital Drive. Yep. Those are some of the larger projects, but again, Bob's been out there and his team have been doing a great job trying to make sure that we're meeting some success out there on the road.
And in addition to that too, we're coming into compliance with the street signs, where we're replacing them in phases, because initially it was over $80,000 to replace all of them. But what the board decided to do, and through our budget process, was do portions of 7,500. So we're slowly, if you drive around town, you'll see those new reflective street signs that are in compliance with all those the federal and state regulations.
Thanks, Adam. Something I'm really excited about, and there's a lot of discussion. We have an advisory committee, also known as in some other communities a finance committee. We try and make our economy here in Templeton, our fiscal structure, resilient. And by the way that you can do that is you have stabilization funds. And I'm just so proud that over the past few years, we have made substantial deposits to our stabilizations, capital and operating stabilization budgets. So well over $1 million and still climbing. We routinely relook these numbers to really see, are we making adequate deposits? Is there room for more? Selectman Bennett also kind of takes off the blinders every once in a while to say, are we making deposits in other areas that we need? I know he's a big advocate for a Chapter 90 style revolving fund or enterprise fund, so we can start to build up items. So very proud that we've achieved that.
And if I could jump in here, Mr. Chair, and also point out the fact that, we have the infrastructure account that will be going for establishment at the annual town meeting, so we could focus more, putting more resources into our roadways here in town. And also, in addition to that, the select board was very supportive of a policy which allows us to put more into our stabilization account. So after the annual town meeting, we're going to be looking at roughly almost $1.5 million sitting in our OPEX stabilization account. That's something where, as you know, with the bond rating, we've come so far financially, and something that all residents of the town can be proud of. And under your leadership with the policy, we'll continue to do that, and we might even want to relook the policy. And maybe once this establishment were to pass a town meeting, we could look at depositing more there and maybe adjusting the others. But that will be something policy-wise that we'll discuss.
And I agree with you. Jeff actually mentioned it in the meeting last night, and he said it's been many, many years since we've been in this kind of fiscal shape, and he specifically mentioned the stabilization funds. Okay, actions to reinforce our school district charter. We've got it's known as the RAC, the Regional Agreement Advisory Committee. And Tim Toth has been instrumental. Carter, we still have him on retainer to help us out with some of those items that he wanted to provide some continuity on. So it was really important for Tim to kind of understand which direction we need to go, and that's a collaborative as well. They've been doing a lot of good work because it's joint with Phillipston. I think that they're still down a town administrator. So structurally, we're really trying to find the best way forward. And then we've got a couple residents that are out there, Sheila Taylor and Katrina Boomiel have been a part of that on the Templeton side. So it's been very good.
If I can, also we had some changeover too with the advisory committee. I think before it's Mr. Revard, now it's Mr. Kaplis, the representative for the RAAC there. So they're working hard. There's a lot of work that they got to get done, and that's something that we're really focusing on. You know, we get our updates from Select Board Member Toth whenever he attends those. So
okay. So again, anything that we can do to help the school district, I think I mentioned them a little bit later as well, but I'm just very happy that of the relationship that we've built with, when they're against it, with the school committee, with Dr. Kazavan. Capital improvements totaling over $600,000. I know it's going to be a little bit in this lower than this next year based on some of the other items that we had. That loader, I think,
which they just purchased.
They did.
So
I'm
people
sorry
could see
I
it
missed
out there.
Yep, I'm sorry I missed the training.
It was last minute, but I received notification from the DPW director, but I wanted to give the opportunity for the select board to see that loader, and it's going to be a remarkable piece of equipment.
It really is.
For our winter operations
Very
that we
flexible
take
piece
seriously.
of equipment. Yep.
In town, so
We can be very happy. I know that we took possession also of the new sidewalk, the multi-function machine. So we've made some pretty significant capital improvements and equipment acquisitions within the last year and a half. Let's see. Town meeting, we continually get support from town meeting. I've been very encouraged during 2021, both annual and the fall town meeting, in getting the town's support for the initiatives that we bring to them, and really listening as well. So I think it was a very successful year for the town from a holistic perspective. We can't get these things, we can't appropriate money without town meetings. So everybody that comes out, that votes, that comes and raises their hand, yells out to the moderator, yay or nay. That's very important for how we operate and how we govern ourselves. So again, thank you to the community for coming out and supporting your town during town meeting. COVID-related CARES funded construction projects. If you've been to town hall, I know we were open for, we're following COVID. Sometimes we're open, we try and tell everyone on the website and our social media, but if you've been down to town meeting, you've seen a portion of the over $600,000, close to, I think we're about 90% expended for our CARES money. All of the different, if you walk through the vestibules, the PPE or the personal protection equipment. We've done a very good job protecting our town staff and anywhere else that we can provide that kind of protection.
It's interesting you bring that up because you remember we went out to bid, and then because anything over 10,000 requires us to go through the process and procurement process, and we will be getting our, it was in the weekly report actually, as a matter of fact today, they'll be installing the glass here at Town Hall to protect our employees and also protect our residents when they come in from COVID. And we certainly could, I mean, from our accountant reconciling all those CARES funds, we've had a good team, and we're very fortunate that we put up all the measures, we're making improvements, and also protecting all. And that speaks to the volume of the support we received from the federal government.
Thanks, Adam. I'm 8 in. I know that we tried to be brief, so I'll go through a couple of these. Development services. I'm so proud of Lori and her team. They supported the Polish American Citizens Club sponsored vaccine clinic over this past year. Very successful event, so I want to mention that. We had an all boards and committees meeting about, I think that's about 3 months ago now, beginning of January, beginning of December. We get all the boards and committees together. We put out the invite. We meet down at the senior center. We share a meal together. Thank you to Reno's Pizzeria for hosting it this year. Every year we try and go to a different restaurant to cater or to support that. This is all boards committees. I've never been to one that was more collaborative. A lot of crosstalk, a lot of ideas, and I think it was just a great. Just to hear the school board and the senior center and the Council on Aging talking through some of the issues and working it out right there to say, hey, I have seniors that need to do some projects or otherwise. It was the collaboration that we're looking for, and I think that's really a testament to people keeping open minds and volunteering their time. It's a Monday evening. I'm sure people have other things, families, work, and otherwise to do.
You wrote up a nice invitation for that, so when they
Yeah,
saw it, they were like, "Whoa,
I'm just
I gotta go."
Yeah, I'm just very happy that people come in and work together on that. Adam, you already mentioned we have an increased and sustained AA3 bond rating with continued mark improvements from our, as evidenced from our external audits that we still get from the Roselli, Mr. Roselli and his firm.
And you know, Mr. Chair, as well, I mean, we just recently, with the ban that we still had outstanding for the school project, now that we finally closed it out,
Yep.
we got an excellent interest rate on that State House note.
Yep.
It's only going to be on till fiscal year 25, and that's attributed to the fact that we have a good rating. And we're fortunate because we finally dissolved the Templeton Elementary School Building Committee and went through that project. That took a while, and we finally have closed that out.
Okay. We found innovative ways to keep benefits and insurance costs reasonable while maintaining the flexibility to make future changes. Adam has worked tirelessly with his group of professionals or his professional network to not only remain in the MIAA and insurance pool, but also keep the flexibility there. Working with the
NFP.
NFP, okay. Yep,
Yes.
and then working with other communities to try and pool our resources to make sure that we can keep our insurance costs, premium insurance costs low, but have a high rate of service to make sure that our employees have plans that they're comfortable with, especially our retired force as well.
And you remember too, because we've been going out to bid for whether insurance, or we went out with the RFP for and then Maya submitted such an excellent premium with the premium holiday that it ended up being a reduction on our insurance. And the year before that, we ended up with a half a month premium holiday. When I say a premium holiday, that means that for 1 month, we didn't pay premiums, which is an 8.3% reduction in our health insurance costs for the town, and which is huge. I'm not sure if folks know, but the town pays 75% of health insurance premiums. So just putting that out there for the residents so they're aware that the town certainly is doing looking at every single opportunity for cost-saving reductions.
Right. Thanks, Adam. We've completed an external municipal vulnerability preparedness workshop and study. Very comprehensive. That document, if you go back to the meeting, if any time that you need to find a product that I talk about, it's usually going to be in an agenda packet that you can find on templetonma.gov. But this municipal vulnerability preparedness document, it really tells you about your community. Where are the strengths? Where are the weaknesses? What should we be putting our resources towards protecting? But getting that done was the first step for our emergency management to understand where are we most vulnerable. And for a lot of insurance products or otherwise, this stuff is required to make sure that we are monitoring ourselves. So getting that done and in our hand was very important. We had a very interesting interaction with Mass Department of Revenue. We had a revisit of a 2009 financial management review. Several people within the town structure went through an interview with DOR where the two DOR employees walked us through the 2009 management report, which was not a great document to read. It did not instill a lot of confidence. And they accomplished the interview and came back, and we not only did they give us a written report, but I invited them to our meeting, one of our business meetings, to have them report to the board. And I think I think the advisory, we had invited them as well. And just the marked difference between where we were back then when they wrote the report and where we are now should really go back and look at that meeting, should give the community a sense of pride and comfort, and to understand that your town is truly working towards making this a better place. And I will finish out our meeting tonight. I want to make sure people are reminded that we have a mission statement. I know I always stamp my foot on the floor to make sure that people know that we do have some guiding principles for that. Terry Griffiths, Selectwoman Griffiths, worked tirelessly on two things this past year, and I'm very proud of her for showing such vigor for that. She led the reinvigoration of a townwide holiday tree lighting tradition, which it had been, we've always had a tree lighting, sometimes at the culmination of a Jack Frost festival and parade that Ann Lyons and the school district help us out with. But this year she had talked with Brian Tangway over at the Historical Society and said, we used to do this all over. We did it in all of the villages. So Terry, you know, she sought the guidance from the board. The board said, go for it, you know, take it and run. And she did that. And we had a very successful and a lot of really nice feedback.
Hundreds of people.
Yep. I was down in Templeton Center, and just to look at the pride in Terry's face and some of the other people that had helped her. If you read the annual report that'll be coming out in a few months, Terry specifically wanted that report to reflect some of the people that had helped her during that. She had a long list. I didn't trim it, but I did have to, you know, she kind of wrote a paragraph of thanks for each person, so I tried to list who they were and who they represented.
I was just happy that she filled all those thank you cards, because that was a long list.
Yes, absolutely. And Terry also, working with the Narragansett Historical Society, we had the resumption of the Boston Post Kane Award. So about, I think it was the June time frame, we went out there and we made the award. Miss Tzakis turned 100 in May. She's the oldest living resident that we have in Templeton. And we reinvigorated, or Terry basically led that effort, and we had our congressional delegation. You'll see the picture in the annual report, but we were just so happy to reinvigorate something that brings the community together, especially to honor one of our oldest citizens.
That was another huge success. A lot of the folks came out from the community, and I got to.
It was a grand reopening. I forgot to mention that as well. It was coincided with the grand reopening of the senior center.
And it was just amazing how our staff came together, made that a reality, and it's certainly something that we can be proud of. Is we stick together in town, and it's remarkable how much the community can do when they all put their resources together and focus on the public good. And you just saw her face that.
I did.
I mean,
everybody.
I think she almost shed a tear.
Well, I think a lot of people did after we finished singing. We kind of got put on the spot. I don't know if you remember. He said, "Okay, everybody sing the national anthem." So there were a lot of people that were pretty happy that day, even if they didn't have their singing voice ready to go. We created a problem, we talked about it last night in our meeting, we created a problem property policy and revolving fund. And I believe that is it solidified yet?
It came out of the committee,
okay.
But the general court still has to act on it, but it came out favorable. We're expecting it because of our language is almost similar to, or it's exactly the same as Athol's, so we will be expecting the general court to sign off. But it's amazing the amount of interest. Well, people are already going on public.
Absolutely, they want to. Yeah, the residents have eyes. They know where we need to act, and I forget the number. I think it's 10 Pleasant Street. That was really the impetus for us to go out and do that. To say this is something that we're going to need. And we worked together with town meeting to make that a reality. Very happy, and we'll see. We've got at least our first. We've got enough money primed for taking action on our first problem property. I know that Selectman Bennett and Selectman Toth were very happy with this next achievement. You know, I got a call one day from a paraprofessional, also my neighbor, Michelle Cormier, and she said, I've got a bunch of Veterans Day cards. It was right around Veterans Day. And she asked if she could give them to me. And so what that turned into is that we held a collaborative Veterans Day observance with our school district's 5th grade, and the kids the contributions, and we read some of them here at this table. The kids' contributions not only reached residents here in Templeton, but they went as far as the Bedford Veterans Hospital and the Department of, the Disabled Veterans of America. And the feedback that we got, and Chris said it best. Dr. Casavant said it when we had the thank you ceremony, because Jeff really wanted to make sure that we encapsulated this achievement, this the selfless act of kindness, as Chris called it. But one act, as I'm paraphrasing from the superintendent, but he said, your one selfless act touched so many people out there. And I think that was a huge achievement for us from a caring perspective, and certainly reaching out to veterans that might have needed a little pick-me-up on a holiday like that.
But I also think when you and the board went down to the school district and got to meet all those fifth graders.
Oh, that was fantastic.
You could see, and Dr. Caspian made it happen with his staff, and
Yep.
The board really made them feel appreciated.
Yep.
And it showed our partnership with the district on the fact that, we're working on things, we're providing the key ingredients to success.
Yep.
But at the same time, knowing how many people those kids, when they did those cards,
Yep.
like you said,
Yep.
it impacted a lot of people
Yep.
in a positive way.
And not only Michelle, but Mrs. Damon was a huge part. When she started to cry, everybody else started to cry. So you know how that can happen. But I'll tell you, that was a really feel-good moment for the veterans on the select board. We appropriated $1.1 million to support a significant affordable housing initiative in Baldwinville. And we've got a couple letters going into the state level offices to really, pound home how important this is to our community. Town meeting voted for that community preservation funds to make sure that the Baldwinville Elementary School, that the right thing happens to it. At one point, we thought it might be part of the cannabis initiatives that we had. I'm not happy that it fell through, but I love the fact that we are now going to have all kinds of mixed income housing in such a nice spot in Baldwinville. I'm really excited for what's going to happen in Baldwinville over the next 5 or 10 years. A lot of business owners I've talked to are happy to see that. I think that that's going to be a significant, it's going to have significant positive impact for the community, right down a couple blocks from you.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, we're looking at a 20 plus or minus $1 million investment right into Baldwinville, and this is of public-private partnerships. This project is so big. I mean, you when you signed off on the letter of support, and I did one, and you saw the one that our legislative delegation all signed off on. They know the impact that this will have on the North Central region, and this is something that we could all be proud of, providing housing opportunities to residents of Templeton. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm a perfect example. When I started working here, I lived in Chicopee, and I tried finding an apartment, for 2 years?
Yeah.
And I couldn't find one, so I had to buy a house. But this will provide opportunities to residents.
Right.
And, I think
Some flexibility, yeah, as you say in your letter, yeah. So speaking of the cannabis industry, we did move forward, even though that one fell through. We moved forward with several cannabis industry vendors on economic possibilities in town. Definitely 2 places that I was aware of that we did within this last year, on Patriots Road and right out this back window here as well. So that's, I think I saw a report, I think it was a state level report, that the cannabis income it's surpassed, that's the word I'm looking for, it's surpassed alcohol taxes in Massachusetts. So for us to be a part of that is very important. We renewed our agreement with for the food pantry with the New Hope Bible Church in our ongoing desire to work with faith-based and other community organizations. We cannot achieve that much in our community unless we reach out and work together. We'll only have some minor, nothing that we can, pat ourselves on the back and feel really good about. If we don't get out there and look at our community partners, then we're just not trying that hard. The fact that we have a very responsive food pantry is a testament to not only the town's resources, donations from the community and outside the community, but a church that really took on that extra responsibility and was willing to do it again and to re-sign and to say, we're so happy to be able to be a part of that. So that's important. A couple more before I go into some challenges. We continued residential construction and associated growth in our community. If you listen to the Deputy Assessor's report, if you listen to community services, if you listen to development services, business is booming. People are not moving out. People move out. There's opportunities a lot of different places, but Templeton is becoming a community that people want to be a part of. And they find housing. I know it's a little bit expensive out there right now, but there is housing opportunities out there. Just take a look at our building permit enterprise fund. We've had to increase it at least twice since I've been around.
And our new growth number.
Yep.
It's insane.
Do you want to give that out now, or cliffhanger?
Yeah,
all right, we'll leave it as a cliffhanger. We have strict but lean management of our town's DPW resources to include equipment maintenance, snow and ice conditions, and buildings and grounds care. I know it's a tough thing to have a small budget and live in a New England town. I know that Bob and the public safety team understand with all of the miles of roads that we have in town, managing those resources is very difficult. So I really, as an achievement and then looking forward with a continued due diligence, I really tip my hat to the DPW team.
I just got to say, I just want it to stop snowing on weekends and holidays.
Yep.
Because I'm looking at that snow and ice budget and I'm like...
I know. That's the kind of the spirit of that bullet item. I cannot thank our first responders enough, every single one of them, from leadership on down to the newest recruits, to the dispatchers, EMS, fire, Chief Bennett, Chief Dickey. I think Peter Layton is a captain on our EMS. I mentioned Peter Layton because in this past year he was named by Mount Wachusett the EMS Instructor of the Year. Great achievement, and I know that we try and, as information percolates up to us on the board, we really try and make sure that we go out and we know that we realize these things. But first responders, thank you so much. We're working. We're really trying. Anytime I bumped into Officer Fliss getting some food downtown, and we kind of talk through. What if we did this? What is your concerns? Of course, now Chief Bennett seeing this is going to say, what are you doing talking to the selectmen? No, it was an innocent conversation, but I enjoy getting out there and talking with, even having these chance contacts with the residents and some of the town employees.
Some good news I just received today. The fire chief just hired a new full-time firefighter paramedic.
Great.
So that's going to bring their full-timers up from 4 to 5, and that's something that I think should be noted. I think
full-timers is definitely on our get better and get well list.
And I got to give credit to the chief. He found a creative way to budget, and that was one of the priorities of the select board, and we're really providing resources and at a time when we get so many medical calls, fire calls.
Yep.
We're really trying to build up our fleet and provide those adequate services to our residents.
Yep. Thanks. And lastly, we had a couple annual awards, the merit awards. I know that you worked pretty hard on that. Steve was in the room, Hannah's not here, but we had annual awards for Steve Castle and Hannah Bennett of the TCTV. Thank you, TCTV. They're sitting right in front of me. Rhonda Parento from Development Services and Paul McAuliffe from the DPW. We very much thank you for your efforts and your achievements within this last year. Is a pleasure to hand, well, I didn't hand them. I did see the picture. We gave them to Lori and she made sure that they got to the people.
But you also might want to let the residents know you'll be opening up nominations at the next meeting for Citizen of the Year.
There we go.
So
you heard it here first. All right, the tough part. I know we're looking a little bit, we're definitely over the 20-minute mark at this point. I'd just like to close with some challenges, our mission, and any final thoughts that Adam might have, but trying to glean what the rest of the board, you have a board, you don't have any singular or otherwise. You've got 5 hardworking Templeton residents that have sacrificed their time to be able to try and do what's right for the community in any way that we can use these resources. Some of the challenges going forward that we definitely talked with our delegation about. We continue to have challenges in obtaining financial support from, for our larger critical infrastructure, like the Main Street Bridge or Royalston Road. So we understand that, and we have to keep the lines of communication open in order to make sure that we can get these larger items funded and some of the opportunities that may be coming up. We did our tax classification hearing recently, and to listen to our Board of Assessors talk about our tax levy, I was definitely concerned. We currently have only 9% tax levy from businesses. As they said, and I'm paraphrasing here, we need to be able to retain and grow our retail, industrial, and business tax base. That's our, industry is our town motto. We want to keep it our motto. So we have to find ways. We have to reach out to businesses to be able to ask them what are some of the things that we can help you with. We continue to have a dual tax rate, meaning our residential and our industrial tax rate are the same. Recently, we had Athol Savings move out of town, and we're really trying to work with other institutions that see Baldwinville as a viable place to have a financial institution. That happened with the last year. It's an example of a business moving out, but we want to encourage business, and we've really got to increase our industrial tax base. We must have a coordinated and funded initiative to update our municipal emergency vulnerability and action plan. Rich Curtis and the CERT team, they work so hard to be able to be ready. When I first got the tour of the emergency management building, I'm so proud of the capability that we have if the worst things happen but we've also got to be administratively ready as well. So when it's time to pass on torches and to find new teams, that we have continuity, not because we've said it to them, but we wrote it down and we were able to train them. Like many communities, we must keep focused on protecting our community from known hazards and maintain an acceptable level of support outside of a state emergency to address the ongoing pandemic. And really, that's putting resources into our first responders in our emergency management. We've come a long way in sustaining a strong relationship with our school district. We endeavor to keep building the capacity to maintain the resources needed for providing the best education to our children and all district members. As part of our wage and classification study, we, like the rest of our country right now, sometimes struggle to retain staff or to find qualified prospects and adequately compensate them. That's a challenge, and we want to make sure that we can lend whatever support we can to the school committee and the superintendent, that we recognize this problem, and that we try and make these resources available to them so that they can close the barn door and keep all their talent where it needs to be. And finally, as I had said, our public safety team continues to be overwhelmed with mission requirements, but undermanned. We continue to struggle to find the right path to man these critical departments, as well as keep up with changing legislation that further constricts our departments with unfunded requirements. To all our chiefs and captains and emergency management representatives, you've had several select board members throughout the years work on this, not just your current board, but past board members. I want to continually remind you, we understand budget problems. We try and go through the budget process, but we're always trying to champion public safety. So as a challenge, we understand that, and we're ready to assist. So finally, before, Adam, do you have any final words?
I think you pretty much covered everything.
Great.
I mean,
Well, that's good to hear.
You keep good notes, I can tell you that, and you do excellent PowerPoints.
Yes. 30 years of doing it for the government, I think I learned something. So, Adam, what I'd like to do is finish up. I thank TCTV for coming in. I don't know, it's probably not a good request, but if you could see the setup in this room, it feels like a studio. So, team, thank you very much. I very much appreciate you coming in today. He's got his Templeton Tough shirt on. Jeff would be happy about that. So thank you to TCTV. If you are still watching at this point, thank you. Thank you for listening to all the things that are going on in your community and how your town government is trying to tackle the problems as we see them today. So finishing up, here is our mission statement. Templeton's town government strives to promote transparency and improve quality of life. enhancing a sense of community, and preserving the core values of our 4 villages. We are committed to fostering respect, public decorum, and hospitality for a caring community. Recognizing that this is your town government, your town officers support initiatives that create a welcoming and compassionate environment for residents, businesses, and visitors alike. We endeavor to provide excellent services through a responsible and accessible town government focused on your public good. Templeton, thank you very much for your attention this evening. Stay Templeton strong and have a great night, and stay safe. Thank you.